Where's your head at? Where's your head at? Where's your head at? It's over there. Exciting day today, folks. I'm going to put this head onto this engine. So this is my STROKA motor. You probably haven't seen it before because, I mean, to be honest, I don't really like shouting and dancing about stuff. Who am I kidding there? I've had some really nice messages of people complimenting me mad 18T knowledge, and to be honest, I take these things apart far too much. In all honesty, you just get used to all the talks, the tolerances, blah blah. So a lot of them I can quote, but for things I don't know, things like, for example, today I'm using ARP head studs. Never used them before, so I'll just make sure I get organised, get it on the board. Stuff like the tightening sequence as well. I actually know that off by head, but it's nice to have it there. And I just make sure I write that in pen on the board. I used to use crayons, but to be honest, I used to eat them. And if you're expecting a mad cylinder head rebuild as part of this engine package, then sorry, I'm going to let you down. I've got a really, really cool head as it is, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, so I don't see the point in stripping this down. I would just be wasting my time for YouTube footage. If anyone's interested in an 18T cylinder head rebuild, then we could probably jack it up, to be honest. I've got heads lying around, but I just simply don't need to do it on this, and I'd rather push this ahead and get, the engine together. So this is the head I'm going to be using. It's an early AEB head from either a Passat or an Audi A4, so it's straight away, it's large port already. And I think I've said this before, but this head has this little raised section here where the tensioner bolts to the head. Whereas on this AGU head, which is also quite an early one, it doesn't have that raised section. So I think later on they just did it to keep the machining costs down a little bit. But it means I don't have to run a washer there. So what's good about this head? Well, it's an early large port head. It's being port and polished by none other than JP at JNL Racing. And that's to his street spec, where he just basically leaves the large port intake but then smooths off all the inside. And the reason he leaves the intakes pretty much the standard size is just to help that gas speed at low RPM. Obviously, people that have small port heads benefit a little bit there. The torque onset comes a little bit better, so the large port heads can suffer for that, so he doesn't bother taking anything out the intake, but the exhaust side, he opens it right up, and that's just to let the gases out as best as possible to make it more efficient. The easier and faster you can get the exhaust gases out means that you can spool your turbo up faster, which means that it all becomes a lot more efficient. You can run more time in advance, blah blah blah. So the exhaust ports are opened right up. And then for the valve train, all the intake valves are Supertech triple groove stainless intake valves. All of the exhaust valves are Supertech single groove Inconel exhaust valves, and it's got a full Supertech valve spring kit with retainers, all the rest of it. And it's also got different cams in as well, because I read years ago that the cams are different from narrowband to wideband with VVT, all the rest of it. I don't think they are, to be honest, or if they are, it's tiny. But the tensioner and the cams, they all came from a BAM. Come on, lads. Joke's running a bit thin now, isn't it? But it'll complement the STROKA motor really, really well. It was amazing on the 1900 Forge engine. I actually put a lot of that engine's strength and the way it performed down to that head, and that's the reason why I didn't want to give it to Spence. So I was saving it for this build, so I think it'll do really well. One tiny little thing I didn't mention on the last video is that after I torqued this down, I've actually punched 2 little dots on this bolt as well. And the reason I did that is obviously because this is a weak area on an 18T. I've dowel pinned the crank, and I've also put the LP bolt on. I've just marked it so I know exactly what torque setting it is and at what location it's at. So if I do have a problem with that in the future, not the past, the future. If I do have a problem with that in the future, then straight away I'll look for them 2 dots and I'll try and identify if there's a problem. But I've got full confidence in that, to be honest. That'll be fine. Right, first things first, I need to do a top dead center check, so I need to make sure that I know exactly when my number 1 piston's at top dead center, at which position this crank pulley's at. And what I'll do is I'll identify it, I'll mark it, and then when we actually time the engine up, I can line my marks up. I don't rely on the cover plates, anything like that. I make sure that I check it exactly. I'll check it with a dial test indicator. Right, so the DTI is set up now, and all I'm looking for is when I turn the engine over, that I get my number 1 piston up to top dead center, and you'll see that the gauge starts moving. I then take it all the way up until it reaches the very, very top, and there'll be a point where the needle stops, and then if I keep turning, the needle then goes back down. So I found the point there where the piston's at the very top, and then if I keep turning, so I'm pretty much at the top there, and if I kept turning that, I'd then go back down. Boom, see? Woo! So if I then just turn the engine back slightly to get myself a perfect top dead centre, you'll find that this bolt hole with the crank pulley and this tooth above it will line up perfectly with that casting on the crank. And then just for confirmation, I then mark it with a punch. It's not essential that, but if you've got the head off, then you might as well find it exact and mark it, because you know it saves you having to put all the covers and all the rest of it on just to do the timing belt. Plus, you know exactly, you know, that is literally exact. Whereas the timing belt covers can sometimes wear and move and all the rest of it. It's nice, just it's peace of mind, you know what I mean? I'll also now lower the pistons, just in case any of the valves are open. It means they'll not touch the pistons when I put the head on. So, let's get the RP studs in. Head studs in hand tight. For the head gasket, I'm going to be using an L-ring multi-layer steel head gasket, just a standard one, to be honest. I've used them on overboard cylinders before and never had a problem. Not 83mm like. With the gasket on, you can actually see that it doesn't protrude into the cylinders at all. So that'll work really good. And I didn't really mention it, but I have cleaned up the head, so that's all immaculate, good to go. It's time. Boom. Looks like an engine. Ah, for hell's sake, man. I didn't grease the head studs. So that's the head coming off again. Take two. How friggin' awesome as well. I get to use my head stud tool that I made. I mean, it's not like, you know, custom engineering or anything, but I didn't used to have it, so saves buying one as well. So I'm going to fit this head, and I'm also going to get the time belt on, but I haven't written off the idea completely of changing the cams. A nice cheap option would be normally aspirated cams, just to give it a little bit more top end breathing. And then the ideal, I suppose, would be, you know, a set of Badger spec cams, something like that. But I also really need to think about the turbo setup now as well. There's so many different options. I could just go on forever. Really do need to knuckle down on what I'm going to do turbo wise. Because I mean, there's the, you know, keeping a small frame turbo, then I will hit my goals. But, you know, bloke on YouTube puts small turbo on car. It's not really that interesting, is it? Whereas, bloke on YouTube puts mega turbo, but doesn't particularly run it that high. That's far more interesting, isn't it? So, I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you think I should do, what route, and maybe what route you would do for this little awesome track beastie Lupo. Should I just go sensible, or should I really push this engine and see what we can get from it? So the spec for the studs is 80 foot-pounds in 3 equal steps. I think we'll go through it 3 times, maybe 25, 50, 55-ish, or 25, 55, and then 80. They're equal-ish steps, aren't they? Boom! Come on then, admit it. Who doubted the tool? Huh? How cool is that though? This is no longer just a pile of parts. It's not just a bottom end and a head. It's a full on, bona fide, 100% all together STROKA motor. I didn't actually plan this, by the way. I just went in the house for a cup of tea and this was sat there. I literally just had these delivered the other day. So I thought, oh, now it's a STROKA MOTAA. I might wear the STROKA MOTAA t-shirt. T-shirt giveaway time. The third and final t-shirt giveaway. Remember, like and comment on this video and I'll send it to you anywhere in the world. They'll be picked from random. I'll probably get my daughter to do it. I do read all the comments though, so thanks very much for getting involved, everyone. This one, comment what you think I should do. Do you think I should go for huge power? I mean, I could bolt up my GT30. That would be brilliant. But I always thought I want something more responsive. So give us your opinion. What do you think you should do? Get involved in the project. Like, comment, and you could win one of these. Cheers. Anyway, let's get this engine timed up and we'll get the belt on. And I think that'll be it. Water pump, tensioner damper, and also the tensioner. Get them fired on. A while ago, somebody pointed us to the direction of Justin Linda's YouTube channel. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's like Linda Power System, something like that. I'll put it on the screen now. And I think it might even have been Spencer, actually. They sent us a link and they said, oh, there's another lad doing an 18T build on YouTube. So I thought, oh, well, I'll go and have a look, because I was planning on doing this anyway. I was actually planning on doing this last year, so I'm bang on schedule. But yeah, and I watched Justin's videos, and the one thing that I sort of took from it that I quite like the look of was his manual timing belt tensioner. Now, I was going to get a manual kit anyway. I was actually going to go for the 06B, the OEM type kit. But I seen this and I thought, what is that? Looks quite good, and I quite like shiny bits. So I thought I'll read some reviews and then I'll sort of make a decision. So I've decided to go for it. This is an lpsfab.com manual timing belt tensioner. So that's what I'm going to be using. So yeah, cheers Justin, from one 18T builder to the next. Right, so time to time the engine up now, and I'm just going to chuck this cam cover on temporarily, just so I can see my timing marks at the top end, and then we'll get the belt on. So the belt that I'm going to be using is this. It's a Gates Power Grip. It's just a standard type replacement belt. Never had a problem with these in the past, and I've run them for years, even with the uprated valve springs. So I'm just going to continue to using it. Easiest way I find to put it on is to leave the tensioner damper, or the manual tensioner here. Leave it slightly loose, and then I can just take the top bolt out and I can swing it out of the way. Gives us plenty of room to put the belt on, and then I can just swing that back in place and then put the bolt in. So looking good, looking good. Right, that's actually not looking a million miles off in terms of tension. So let's tighten this down. We'll take a little bit more tension, because along that longest length there, you need to be able to do it half a turn. Just a tiny bit more tension. And then we'll do some revolutions just to make sure there's no contact. Right, moment of truth, let's turn it over. Right, so that's a good few revolutions, and we're back to top dead centre on the head. And we're back to bang on top dead centre down here. There's my little dot lining up with the rib. Plus you can see the belt is centred on the roller and the tensioner roller there. Nicely over the water pump. I have to say though, that water pump looks minging considering it's brand new. And I've got good belt tension. Last little thing on the timing. Now, you've seen me set it up with the DTI earlier. Really accurate way of doing it. But it does have a flaw, and that flaw is, well, it's really accurate. So top dead center doesn't actually appear as like a spike, a fixed point. It's more like a very small window at the top. So if you get your DTI measuring wrong, you can actually find that your timing can be wrong. So right at the end, absolutely essential. Get your covers, get your dampener on, and then check your timing marks. So the lower cover's on, as is the dampener. It's all bolted down, so it can't be wrong. My timing marks are perfect down here, and they're also perfect up there. So like I said before, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually end up taking that back off, because I might be tempted to get a set of cams, but I don't know what spec yet, so we'll have a think about that. But that's the beauty of the manual tensioner, really. I mean, all tensioners you can take off, but the manual tensioner, I just literally unwind it, belt off, do whatever I need to do, back on. Simple as that. Do all the checks again. But we'll see, further down the road. I don't know. I'd like to get this in the Lupo really, really soon, which means really knuckling down on the rest of the sort of project, the turbo, all the rest of it. But final little thing to do on this video is we're going to fit the sump. So this is the sump I'm going to use, and it's an INA sump. It's a full custom sump, and it's got a few nice bits on it. First of all, it's already got baffle plates in with the little trapdoors for oil control. It already has the oil level temperature sender boss, but I'm not going to be using that because I don't run that. But the really cool thing about it is it has its own baffle plate, so I don't have to use the plastic one from factory. And it's a wing sump, so I get extra volume of oil without having to go further down. So that's pretty cool. Straight away I'll be able to carry more oil. But it's a full custom sump. It's not like the forged ones that just have the baffle plates in or anything. That's basically what I've got in the Lupo already, but it's like a DIY one. I made it. And then Spencer's got a Jabba one in his Mark IV Golf. But this is a full-on custom INA sump, and you can still get them, I think. I think they're a bit expensive, to be honest. I probably wouldn't pay for it, in all honesty. But we'll get this sealed up, and then we'll get it trucked on the engine. Farewell, little forged engine. Hopefully you treat me just as good as I've treated you. And never see the inside of you ever again. All these bolts down the back of the sump, I can't get access with a ratchet or a torque wrench because of the wing. It stops us getting from above. So I'm going to have to do these bolts with the Mark I torque wrist. So that's it, the Stroka Motaa is complete, sat on the stand, ready to go. We'll get it into the car as soon as we can. We still obviously need to sort some biggies out, like the turbos, the clutch, all the rest of it. Really need to pull my finger out over that. But to be honest, I'll probably wait till Spencer's back, on the scene as soon as Boris lets him out the house, because moving engines around, I probably will need a hand. It'll be pretty cool if me and Spencer do that. So in terms of this project, it's not over yet. Still plenty to do, but I suppose this video does mark the end of the engine build videos, which leads a good point, to be honest. There's a lot of people I've had comments and questions and really nice messages of people, saying that they're going to follow this sort of build series, when they do their engine or they want to do a stroker. And to be honest, if you look back on some of them, there's some bits and bobs that I do that, maybe it's only I do. Every engine builder picks up little tips and tricks, and therefore you don't end up following the book. Now, there's some things with regards to tolerances and torques and assembly methods that maybe is a good idea that you didn't do. So I might follow this video up with a bit of a engine build sort of do's and don'ts with regard to the 18T, because I absolutely don't follow some of them. I can tell you that now, and you know, some people have obviously picked them up on the videos. So I think we'll do a follow-up video for, you know, for newer engine builders. If you haven't done it before, I might give you a bit of a heads up, maybe tips and tricks, what tools to get, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. If anyone's interested in that, let us know in the comments. But I think that'll do. We'll sign off for now. Thanks very much for watching this whole thing. It's not over yet, but the engine build is definitely done, complete. And I'm really happy with how it's turned out. Let's face it, it's together, we've had a laugh, it's all been fun, hasn't it? Anyway, thanks very much for watching. See you on the next one.